Hello and welcome to the Powerful Personal Brand Podcast. I am your host, Claire Bahn, and on today's episode, I am very excited to be joined by Sarah Boyd. She is the co-CEO and CRO of the Digital Department, a leading influencer marketing and talent management firm. The Digital Department was formed in 2023 through a merger of Socialite, where Sarah previously served as president, and fellow influencer marketing company Be Social. Sarah also founded Simply, a global conference series that brought together thousands of entrepreneurs, creators, and industry leaders. Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So you have built your personal brand and you work with influencers and creators. So one of the things that my co-founder and I hear a lot is people want to build their executive brand and become a thought leader, but they don't want to be influencers and they don't want to be content creators. So you have your experience in both. Can you tell me what's the difference and is there any crossover between the two?
Yeah, I feel the same way because I don't want to be an influencer because we manage them. I'm not trying to be an influencer. However, everyone at this point needs some sort of social presence. And it doesn't have to be influencer like. It can be just showcasing who you are, what your strengths are, what you do, and you can do that through any social platform. It doesn't have to be, Instagram. It could be LinkedIn, it could be TikTok, it could be Snapchat, any platform really, to have the presence that you can really lean into to showcase what you do, because that, let's be honest, today is now everyone's resume is, your Instagram and your LinkedIn. So yeah, I think differentiating what that content looks like is very different. You're not going to be sharing affiliate links and doing brand deals and things like that on your social, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have a huge following and they're not content creators because people are inspired by them and want to see a day in the life of what's happening.
Right. And then it can also lead to other things. It can lead to selling a program or selling services, but that's not an influencer. Just as you were saying, like affiliate links and that kind of thing. That's kind of what I think of it as an influencer and a content creator. Like that's all they do, really. Versus other people are kind of building thought leadership and maybe kind of selling beyond that.
Correct.
Any other crossovers that you see between the two?
No,
similarities?
And sometimes brand entrepreneurs and founders do get big partnerships. I've seen some with Amex or Dell and, business type brands that, they want their, industry founders and brand leaders to talk about.
But they're doing that probably more because of their influence and not their influence, their industry experience, the way they're seen as a thought leader in the industry versus they're just an influencer. So,
correct.
Okay. Because I think that's one of the biggest things that we see a lot. So they are similar and yes, they can get brand deals, but they're just the content and the way they share it is just different.
Right. It's not their purpose. Their purpose isn't to make a living off of their social. Their purpose is really to elevate their brand, their business and their personal brand.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I like that difference because I'm always sometimes like I had my co-founder on the podcast recently and we were kind of it's hard to sometimes identify what is an influencer because you're like what are they? But so I like the fact that you say yes, they make their money through the platforms and that's why they create the content, that's why they have the partnerships and that makes sense. So that's like a good differentiator because then I think somebody going like, "Oh, well yeah, that's not me." Then it can make sense if you really identify what an influencer is and then someone goes, oh yeah, that's not even what I thought personal branding was. So okay, I love that. I love that I think I finally have the answer, so thank you.
And you don't have to be in one box. You can still be
you could do
an entrepreneur, CEO, but also an influencer and also a mom and also all of these other things. Like I feel like the creator economy has really turned into like you can be multiple things.
Right.
And you don't have to be, I am only a creator or I'm only an entrepreneur. You can do them all unless you don't want, that side at all. And you don't have to. You say no to sales if they come.
Right. I think one of the yeah, like one of the biggest kind of differentiators is kind of really authenticity and being who you are in personal branding. I think that is easier, right? Because sometimes if you really want a brand deal, they may want it's maybe more specific how they want you to do things, and so your content as a personal brand and as an industry leader can I don't know I feel like there's sometimes more authenticity in that.
For sure, because no one's being sold to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's how I
I
feel at least, right? When you follow people on
Yeah.
media, if you trust that person and you know they're not selling something because they're being
Yeah.
paid to, uh,
Right.
versus just talking about what's going on in their life and their favorite, clothing line or whatever
Right.
they're talking about, it feels way more authentic in that it's, your best friend or a colleague that you're talking to
Yeah.
rather than
I feel like I feel like the economy I feel like the like the way social media is now, I feel like the old way of being an influencer is dying because they don't provide value.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I think that the ones that I see that actually provide value, they kind of, whether it's like clothing, they tell you how to put an outfit together, or they tell you things that you can do with your own wardrobe. So you're not necessarily having to buy things, and maybe you want to, but it's not being pushed to you as just, here's my outfit, buy the links.
exactly. Yeah.
So I
And
kind of like that.
yeah, good content creators have really gotten that down on, like, you feel like they're your best friend, you're into their
Hmm.
broadcast channels, you feel like you're chatting with them all day,
Yeah.
and some don't come off as organic and authentic,
Yeah.
you know? And
I
again,
agree.
it goes back to what your brand is and what you built, so, I know a lot of stylists and they've transitioned to influencers because, like you said, they're showing you how to get dressed and, "Oh, by
Hmm.
the way, you can buy this entire look right here." Uh,
Yeah.
but you are like you said, they're getting value out of that content, and great, you made my life easier because I can just click and buy everything that you have on.
Right. And I think that's how a personal brand can actually sell products or sell services because you know, like, and trust them, and you're like, how can I work with them? How can I get that? Because that looks so great, or that's exactly what I want.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but I feel like if you understand the differences, that's where really the difference for personal branding and like that not selling, there's so much value in that.
Yeah. Agreed.
I love, yeah, in the authenticity. So the other thing that I think when you're building a brand is really knowing who your audience is. And a lot of people have no idea. Even if
Mhm.
they know this is my industry, but who would want to know this stuff? So like do you have any tips for that?
I do.
Mhm.
I mean, first, definitely take a deep dive in your analytics. That
Mm.
tells you a lot. It tells you the age, it tells you where they live, and build that community. So, engaging with your followers and seeing where they're from. You can do polls to see where they live or, you know, what they follow you for. You can ask all of
Mhm.
those questions and you get pretty good feedback that way just through your
Okay.
analytics and asking your audience the questions. You can also see which content performs best, which means that's what people are interested in. But I like to tell our talent or anyone looking to build a personal brand is like, don't speak to everyone. Like, really be specific in who your audience is. Again, finding it through your analytics or polling them and really creating that community. Someone with 50,000 followers could have a stronger community than someone with a million because they're highly engaged with them. They're replying to comments, they're having a conversation. They feel like it's their group of besties and their followers know them as well as they know themselves. So, it's really understanding who you're speaking to and then what they look to you for and providing that content and value back to them.
So say you have somebody that they don't have an Instagram yet. They don't have like their LinkedIn. They just kind of have been lurking in the lurking in the corners. So they don't know who their audience is. They have no idea. Do you have a tip for like how they would, because they don't have analytics to go to, they can't poll anyone because no one's there. How would you say that they should find their audience?
Well, they're gonna have to start posting and seeing
Okay.
what works, right? So we
Okay.
always tell our talent, think of like 6 to 9 pillars of content, that you're posting about consistently. And those pillars are really what you love in life and as a person. So if
Mhm.
it's a CEO or someone that owns a brand, obviously that's one of your pillars, right? It's your work. A second pillar,
Mhm.
maybe they're a mom and or a dad and they can talk about parenting. Another pillar could be fashion. So they love, affordable fashion and that's a pillar. Travel. So they can really choose what resonates with them and who they are, as a brand and start posting
Mhm.
that consistently on stories, on Instagram, like all of your platforms. And once you start doing that for a little bit, then you can look at the analytics. You can start really engaging with your audience and see what people like. And, maybe it's comedy skits and talking about
Okay.
burnout, or, you can really create anything with
So
these.
just test. You think that people should just test kind of everything to figure out what works and how that things can build an audience?
Yeah, I not
Okay.
everything, but, like, pick 6 to 9 categories of what
Okay.
they want what they're passionate about, and
Mhm.
that's what you should be sticking to, so every post
Right.
should lead back to one of those pillars and
Okay.
content categories.
Right. Oh, I meant like everything. Like you could try different ways to use
Yes,
that content pillar in a skit, in a this, in a
yes.
that, in a whatever. So yeah, interesting. Okay, I like that idea. And the other thing that I also going back to what you said earlier about a lot of people are so focused on having a million followers or whatever it might be, but like their stuff is super niche, and why would a million people it's this it doesn't a million people probably don't want this specific super niche thing. And
Yeah,
sometimes, like you said, a very focused following that really loves what they talk about, they're highly engaged, is so much better. But sometimes people are like, but how can you explain to somebody the value of the smaller audience versus the bigger audience that doesn't care?
yeah. We love a niche creator, like, we have a talent on our roster right now who runs a janitor, like, cleaning business.
Hmm.
So niche, but, like, working with every huge cleaning company and does
Mm.
so well, and who would have ever thought that that would turn into a massive business,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
talking about how you clean.
Yeah.
So, I don't think the niche or how small the niche is matters, it's really all about your community and the engagement, and there's brands that can integrate with any niche. We just, brought in multiple dermatologists,
Okay.
and they're some of our top performing talent on our roster. They're experts in their field, but it's very niche because they only really talk about skincare and things that are in the dermatology world, but
Yeah.
they do extremely well because brands will pay them so much more because they're that expert and they have that authority to speak about those skincare products. So I
I feel
always
like a lot of those kind of bridge the gap between thought leader and authority, and also an influencer and a content creator. Because I've seen a lot of dermatologists. They're talking about their favorite products, whether it's La Roche Posay or whatever, and they have deals with them. And you're like,
yeah,
okay, well, that
I'll
kind of
buy
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
it makes sense. Yeah. So there really is a lot of crossover, I feel, with it. But some people, you're like, those make sense as being content creators and influencers and having brand deals, but others don't. And I feel that just I feel like there's a lot of things, especially in the world of like executives and corporate people, where they want to have no's. They want to say no because it's hard. No, I don't want to be an influencer. I
Yeah.
don't want to put myself out there. It's hard. I don't like to put myself on video. I don't like how I talk. I don't
Yeah.
like
Well,
what
it's
do
a lot
you
of fear and it's a lot of,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm not good at that," or, you can always hire someone to help shoot and edit the content to make it look great. If you're on a podcast like this, take a clip of it, put it on your social. It doesn't need to be, "Hi, here's me in my kitchen, and here's the pots and pans you need to buy." It can be real life of what's happening. Do, like, follow me for a day, 9 to 5, and people really wanna see what entrepreneurs and CEOs do in a day because they're juggling everything. So, yeah, I think more tips in terms of, someone just starting too, is we always suggest creating an editorial calendar.
Mhm.
so it doesn't get overwhelming. Because if you're just staring at this blank screen, like, where do I start? What do I do? An editorial calendar will keep you focused, and you can batch all of that content, do a shoot day, get a videographer, someone that can help edit, and they can like kind of direct you through the day. All right, we're doing your 9 to 5 content. Now we're doing this content. Now we're doing this one. And they can help you get it all live on the specific days, and makes it really intentional, as opposed to, oh crap, I have to get a post up today. Let me just shoot
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
It really puts a plan behind it. I think that definitely makes people's lives a little bit easier as well.
Yeah, I agree. I feel and sometimes, running a business, there's so much to do as, CEO, and you get thrown wrenches sometimes. This morning, something, happened this morning. I was like, wow, wasn't expecting that at 7
Oh,
a.m.
every day.
And you're like, there we go.
That could have been a
and
little bite-sized piece of content that you could have thrown
yeah,
up on TikTok. But yeah,
yeah.
social media
I just
always.
think that if you schedule it, and you just, because I mean, obviously we scheduled this podcast, so the wrench at 7 a.m. I got to get over it by 2:45
Yeah,
because I've got, so I think that sometimes just kind of realizing that making a date with yourself, making it, putting it in the calendar, and it just can't be kicked aside, because
yeah.
there's always going to be something that's there. And if you're
Mhm.
actually committed, like, I have to be here for Sarah because she's going to be here. Like, yeah, if even if you're doing your content yourself, make a date, make it an appointment with yourself, even when it's hard, because honestly, like, yeah, everyone gets too busy. Everyone wants to just push it off to the next day, me included.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get ready, you gotta edit it. It's
Yeah,
very overwhelming because there's so many jobs that go into being a content creator. Like,
right.
I'm like, "I don't know how to edit a TikTok." I have to grab my 10-year-old and ask her how to do it, because it's a lot, and I get
Yeah.
it. And if you're not that person that's, willing to hop on camera and, be criticized by the world,
Mm-hmm.
it can feel intimidating and overwhelming. But yeah, if you have, there's lots of people out there that will help, with shooting and editing and all of those things. So you can just do it, get it done, and let your team handle the rest of it. Or you can figure
Yeah.
out how to edit on your own.
Right. It is relatively simple. They have, like, I don't know all the TikTok stuff. They have edits. It's really fairly simple, but a
Yeah.
lot of times there's like buzzwords. There's things that people say, and someone watching this might be going like, I don't even know what that means. So when one of those things is find your why. So I know that you believe that people should find their why to create content, but like, a lot of people might, like, what does that even mean? It sounds like something woo woo out of California. I live in California,
Yeah.
right? So what does that mean in clear, easy to follow? Like, how can I do it when I'm, maybe I'm resistant? It doesn't make sense to me. Sarah, please tell me, how do I find my why?
Yes. So your why is really like, what do you want people to get from your content, and how are you serving them? And that's, again, what's going to shape your content strategy. But your why is really, what do you want to put out in the world, and how do you want to be received? So, like, what feeling are you trying to create for your audience? What kind of lifestyle are you hoping, people move towards? Like, it depends on whatever content vertical you're in. But say you're, a nutritionist, your why is to help women over 40 get in the best shape of your life,
Mm-hmm.
best shape of their life. If you're a fashion creator, my why is to help women, post baby, feel great. Like, it can
Mm-hmm.
be anything, but it's taking your skills and your gifts and being able to serve others with those gifts. And how do you hone that in to like your 30-second, 10-second elevator pitch on like
Right. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
you are, what you're good at, and what you're delivering.
I like that. I mean, I often say, like, your personal brand is not for you; it's for your audience, and that's kind of like, that's another way of putting it. It's this is what I do. So I think a lot of times people think that sharing content, sharing social media, it makes them selfish. It's trivial. It's stupid. Dumb
Mhm.
people do that. It's
Yeah.
dumb. But if you think about who you're actually helping with sharing your story of if you lost weight, or sharing your story of how to put your outfits together because you learned it or you dealt with other people that have had these struggles, then it all of a sudden feels so good.
Yeah.
And I think that's when there's resistance to finding the why. Once you really kind of go, oh, that was such an easy way of putting it. And now it doesn't feel like I'm bragging or it's trivial and stupid because I actually am providing value. I think value is the most important thing because we discussed that earlier. 2016, 2015, when everyone's just like, buy my outfit, like to know it.
Mhm.
And like, you're like, yeah, there's no value to this content at all.
Right.
There's not even there wasn't I mean, maybe aesthetic value, right? Like the way their hats were or whatever. But yeah, now people actually have to provide value, and the ones that don't are kind of losing traction. So I
Right.
think that finding your why, I mean, have you found that a lot of like influencers that maybe have been in this space a while have had to kind of reframe how they are doing their content by using that why framework?
For sure. A lot of the kind of the OG influencers, it was before Reels, it was before TikTok, before stories, and it was just a beautiful professional photo. And that
Hmm.
does not fly anymore. People
Yeah,
want to know you and everything about you. And all creators don't have to open up that much, but you have to get on stories, you have to talk to camera, you
yeah,
have to create again that community, and otherwise people are not invested in you. And
right.
it's like, great, pretty picture. It's, why we don't sign a lot of models because they look beautiful, but what's behind it? It's just a photo. And,
Hmm.
you know, it's all the real people are coming out of the woodworks now on social. It's like, you know,
Especially with AI, people want
yeah.
real.
Mhm.
It kind of brings me back to I'm a former actress. I live in LA, and if you think about the if you I don't know if you knew this or not, but before there were the talkies, they obviously didn't have they had movies without sound, and so a lot of those famous actors, Rudolph Valentino, and I can't remember the other one's name anyway. They were so famous. They were just so famous, and they couldn't make that transition because people didn't like their voice.
Mm.
Like people did not like Rudolph Valentino's voice. They thought it was too high. And then I cannot remember the other woman that was just hugely popular, but she did not make that transition into talkies because they didn't like her voice. So I feel like that's kind of where we are with like these creators for 2016. They aren't making it in the reels and all that sort of stuff. And it's that transition, the people that can't transition and pivot when the world pivots ultimately aren't going to make it. So you got to just if you don't like if they don't like your voice, then figure out how to make it deeper, higher, or it might be, right?
Use AI, do something. Or, you can do voiceovers and change your voice,
Yeah.
so you can listen to it 10 times before you post it. And
Yeah. Practice
there's
makes
ways
perfect really with everything.
Mhm.
So just practice. I mean, I've seen so many. I saw a recent something with Paris Hilton, and she was talking about when she was doing her the early 2000s, and her voice was like really high pitched, and she's like, that was just the persona that I came up with. My voice is actually quite low, so it
Isn't that
can be done.
crazy?
You can
Yeah,
change your persona.
right,
So if you feel like I'm not outgoing, I don't like my voice, I don't like these things, then you can create a persona to make it just kind of feel better. A lot of actors and actresses, singers do that. They have a persona. They're like online. You could create an online persona so you don't have to feel like yourself
right. Yeah,
if it's not authentic.
exactly. And there's lots of ways to shoot and film and edit the content too, where you don't have to be talking the whole
Hmm.
time,
So many creators don't, especially like the food ones. You just see them
right.
creating the food. I mean, like the way things used to be, like you would actually watch them like a cooking show, and now
Yes.
they don't do that anymore. People are like, no, let's go fast, make cuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You've got to you've got to know what the industry is doing. I think that's the biggest thing. As any person really creating content. If you're creating content on LinkedIn, watch content on LinkedIn. What are people doing? You
Right.
don't need to copy it, but you should know where the bar is before you
Right.
start creating content.
And
Because
see which content is performing well with other creators, and obviously don't copy what they're doing, but use it as inspiration as you're trying to figure out, okay, what is my platform going to look like? And you can pull, inspiration from lots of people and make it your own.
All right. So someone that's building their personal brand, let's just say they are in the corporate world. Their goal is to be an executive. Like so you just like they want to create their personal brand. What are three tips that you would give them in order to get started?
Let's see. If you want to be and they have no social yet.
No. Yeah. No
And
social.
they already
Sorry, I'm throwing a wrench in there.
are a CEO or they want to be.
Well, yeah, like just say they're just kind of like they're starting out on their socials, but they want to like use their personal brand to like get career opportunities, take their job to the next level.
Okay. I would sign up for all the platforms,
Okay.
Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, of course, and start populating. Like I said, with the pillars that we talked about before, start following like-minded entrepreneurs and similar people in the same kind of vein as you, people like influencers that are in that category, whatever your company is. Start following a lot of them, start engaging with them, commenting on their posts as you're starting to create content. I think that's a good way to at least just get started and get a few posts up within your pillars and then start seeing how it performs and start like DM people and comment and you like spend at least an hour a day just commenting and getting your
Okay.
name out there. And yeah, I mean, if you follow 1,000 people that are in your industry and category,
Mm-hmm.
you might get some followers from that, you might get some conversations. Make
Yeah.
sure your bio is, like, dialed in. Make sure you have, the city you're in, the field you're in, what your business is, tag your business, have all of that in your bio, so when people look at your page, they don't just see your name, they see, kind of your elevator pitch almost in that bio
Right.
right there.
Yeah. I think that's really important for, I mean, I talk to like sometimes people that are like recently graduated from college or doing some of these things, and a lot of people are just like, but I don't have anything to say. You were talking about the day in your life, simple kind of things that
Mhm.
you can share that can be valuable, but there's a lot of value to looking what other people are doing, and that can give you ideas as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
And so that's super important.
Instagram how now has if you go in, I forget what tab it's in on Instagram, but it'll give you inspiration based on who you follow and who follows you for
Hmm.
content. So you can
Oh,
even
wow.
they serve it to you on a platter and they say
Yeah,
here's
yeah, yeah.
content based on what's performed for you that you should think about doing and trends and things like that. So they make it very easy. There's also you can search TikTok, types of CEO content that I could do. Search ChatGPT, put all the information in about you, your business. It'll
Hmm.
spit out some great ideas. So, I think
Yeah.
do the research. There's courses out there you can take, YouTube videos, like everything is at our fingertips. When I first started, I
Yeah.
had nothing. So,
Yeah, I know.
utilize.
Yeah, so you can, and there's no better time to start right now. Like you just start right now. Do some research on what you can do because ultimately building a brand really does help you for your future. So, awesome, Sarah. This was really fun. I feel like we learned a lot, and we definitely now know the difference between a personal brand and an influencer, even if their circles kind of might,
Yeah,
touch.
Venn
Yeah,
diagram.
they kind of overlap a little bit, but I feel like we have a really solid definition of that. And thank you so much. So where can someone find you if they want to learn more about you?
Well, man, now I need to get my, content creation game up, but you can follow me on Instagram. It's, Sarah P. Boyd on Instagram, and then the digital department is my company, the digital DE or sorry, the digital DPT,
Okay.
on Instagram, and we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm everywhere.
Okay. I'll make sure all those links are in the description for everyone so you don't have to sit there and write it down or type it. But thank you so much, Sarah, for being here. I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening and watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.